Good evening and welcome to Excelsior Classes. It is 2020 and you are joining us for another content expert webinar. I want to welcome the people who are here live or who will be coming in as we go through our presentation, and I'm so glad that you came. I know that this is a very unusual time in history and there are many things that you could be doing right now. But I'm glad that you are here. And I hope that tonight our presenter, Melissa Kaiser, will have something really interesting to share with you. Melissa has been a teacher here at Excelsior pretty much since Excelsior was started, and she has a long history of online teaching experience. And she has a long history been with the architecture profession. So she teaches our architecture classes here at Excelsior. She is out in California and she is really enthusiastic about the arts. I know that her and I are working on a class that's coming up this fall that she may mention. So without further ado, let me turn this over to Melissa. And if you have any questions, I'm sure she will answer as she can. And if she can't, she will answer them at the end, right?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. I am going to share with you our slides for this evening. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you could be here either live or take a look at this recording when you have the opportunity. This is something that I'm very passionate about, so I am super excited to share this with you this evening. I'm going to be talking about why design education is important for all students. As Julie said, my background is in architecture, and that's where I spent all of my years in school and a few years practicing. And then I became a homeschool mom, and I have homeschooled my kids. My oldest two are 18 and graduating this year, so very exciting. But during those years, I spent a lot of time teaching art and design classes to co-ops and groups of students, and just really developed a desire to see kids explore their creative potential and really just realize that they have it and find ways that they can use those gifts, that they can just have fun and learn as well. So I'm going to talk to you about that this evening. If specifically, I want to maybe help you think about how to maybe guide your students into fine arts classes for the fall. In many states, I know in mine, we have fine arts requirements, usually 1 year or so of credits for the fine arts to graduate from high school. And so some students are excited about art, and they know, they want to take a certain drawing or painting or photography class, and you may have opportunities in groups where you live or online or whatever to do that. Other students may be a little more reluctant about the arts and just not feel like they have artistic skills. And so let's address that and let's kind of figure out how we can look at these two questions. Why is design education important, or just any education in the arts? Is it to build skills? Yes, we want to learn how to do what we do better. We want to draw better. We want to paint better. We want to express ourselves visually better. But it's not just that. There is an element to arts classes that helps students learn how to think. And that applies to every single subject area, not just art. So let's talk through that a little bit, and then we will talk about how arts classes specifically help your students to learn those things. Let's let's start with design. So if we're saying that design education is important, what is that really? You know, we think about design and that's kind of being creative and maybe coming up with the newest iPhone or the newest Nike shoe or a new outfit. You know, the design is like super over the edge creative. Well, in the arts, let me tell you how we talk about it. Design is composition. It's putting things together, planning, organizing. It's taking the parts that are going to make something up and giving them a thoughtful relationship. So we have a vocabulary. We have ways that we do that. There are the elements. Those are the things we work with. The what. There are things like line and shape and value and texture and color and so forth. There are many. This is just a sample. But those are the things, the parts that we're working with. And then we want to create that relationship between those parts so that we have an interesting whole. And so the principles of design are the how. They're the guiding things that tell us how we put those elements together. We use the principles of unity, of emphasis, of balance, of proportion, of rhythm and movement, and learning more about what each of those things means and how to accomplish them is something that we teach. But basically, those are the ways that we put together our elements, and that creates the pleasing composition. And so with regard to the arts, this is how we talk about it. This is how we teach it. But it goes farther. It goes beyond that. It goes past even just your arts classes. So what really is design? Well, when we're working with those elements according to those principles, we are really teaching critical thinking, and we're using creative problem solving. And these are things that have application way beyond just creating work of art. Critical thinking is, according to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, careful thinking directed toward a goal. And you can see how in composition, you have a goal. You want to create something you have a particular goal in mind. You know, in architecture, we compose three-dimensional buildings. In art, you would compose a two-dimensional composition of maybe lines and shapes and colors, and so forth. In the arts, we have goals that we use our elements and principles and work towards. But that is really just a lesson in critical thinking, because those skills apply to any kind of goal that you might have in your life that you are trying to achieve. You're thinking about the pieces that you need to put in place and how you need to organize those in order to accomplish your goal. You can see how critical thinking applies in a scientific way. I mean, you might even be thinking about the scientific method right now, where you have a hypothesis, and so you're working to try to prove that hypothesis. And so you try something, and that doesn't work, and so you cross that off the list. And so you try something else, and you take measurements, and you make notes, and so the critical thinking applies to scientific method and inquiry as well. Critical thinking also teaches students to ask why. Why do we do things the way that we do them? I don't know if you've heard this anecdote or not, but it's about a family who prepares a Thanksgiving turkey by chopping off the top end and the bottom end of the turkey. And so the daughter asks the mother, why? Why do we do that? Why do we chop off both ends of the turkey before we roast it? And the mother said, I don't know. My mom always did it that way. And so the daughter goes and asks Grandma, Grandma, why do we chop off the head and the end of the turkey before we roast it? And Grandma said, well, I don't know, because my mom always does it that way. So finally, the daughter goes to great grandma, and great grandma says, because my pan was only this big and it wouldn't fit an entire turkey. And we have to ask why and get to the root of why we do the things we do, or why we do them the way we do them. Because this enables us to be more creative. It enables us to kind of jump off the track of, this is the way it always goes. This is the way we always do it. Let's ask why and get to the bottom of the inquiry. And so that maybe we can approach the problem with better results. We could have more turkey. We don't need to cut the top and the bottom off the turkey. We can roast it and eat it and get better results. It teaches students creative problem solving. So design, you can see this as well, that that when you're thinking about how to compose the parts of a whole, or to put things together in a pleasing composition, that you're going to use your imagination. You're going to look at the problem and say, how can I do this in a way that hasn't been done before? How can I do this in a way that meets the goal, but still is interesting, but still holds a lot of excitement? How can I solve this problem? And so this is the essence of what design is teaching students. It's not comprehension, it's thinking skills. And here's the thing. Some students and some people even feel like, I'm just not creative. I just can't, I just look at something and that's all I can see. I can't design a house. I can only think of what my own house looks like. I can only think of what my neighbor's house looks like. But here's the truth. Here's the reality. Design is a uniquely human activity. And we are designers because we are made in the image of a creator God. We all design at some level. You know, did you fix your hair this morning? Well, maybe not. Okay, we're all at home now and maybe you didn't need to do that. But did you make breakfast? Did you put together something to wear? It might be your pajamas even, but you have made some choices, and you have even thought and weighed choices that you have, and you have put things together to accomplish your goal. So at some level, you have used design just in your daily life already. And the really amazing thing about it is that anything that comes from you is uniquely yours. I see this year after year, class after class. I've taught my classes in architecture for 6 years. And for the most part, I work with the same exercises. I change things up here and there, but I'm giving students, even just one class of students, I give them the same problem to work on. And the vastly different solutions to the problems just is evidence that there is creativity within each single person. And you just might not know how to use it the best. You might not know how to exercise it. So students can be taught these things, and this is what our classes in the arts, our classes that work through design thinking, this is what we help students do. We help them to access that potential along with building some skills. The skills in drawing and painting and composing and putting things together on paper, in computer design programs, in film, those avenues of working through design thinking just help the students exercise those skills, and it helps them realize, oh, this is how we go about solving those problems. So let's look at just any one of these things that you might encounter in your daily life that has to do with design and that would use those design skills at some level. We design objects. So I mentioned an iPhone, I mentioned shoes, toothbrushes. Just any kind of object requires that object to have been shaped and formed and put together and composed in a creative way. But think about the other things that involve relationships among the parts of a whole. It could be your garden. It could be the way you plant your flowers in your garden. You've got some different types of plants, and you're thinking about where to put those based on their height or their color. You've got a meal, and so you have some choices between different foods, and you're thinking about flavor and color and texture and how that meal is composed. I don't know about you, but the word composition makes me think immediately about writing or about music. And so those things are very clearly using parts and creating a beautiful, harmonious whole. But you've also got parts of a whole in a family, and those relationships among those parts of that whole are very important. And so having a goal of unity among those parts is something that you can work towards attaining. And business relationships, even just thinking about the parts of that whole. So these are just a few examples of the broad application of design thinking and the principles of problem solving and why design education is important. So here's a look at what we do in our classes and how this can help your student. We work through the design process with your student, and this is a cycle that I like to refer to as the iterative cycle. An iteration is just doing something once and then doing it again and then doing it again, and hopefully each time improving it. So the cycle itself is something that is referred to in a book that I use with my students called Design Drawing. And it begins with seeing. We see things around us. We see things that inspire us. We see, and then we see the problem that we need to solve. And then we think. We think about how to solve that problem. We apply a different approach. We try some different strategies. We think about it, and then we have to produce something. In my classes, we draw. And then in some of my classes, we produce in a computer modeling program. So we have to produce in a visual format what we are thinking, so that we have a product. We have a product that we can discuss, that we can all see, that we can all share in appreciating, and then we go through the cycle again. We see it, we see the thing that has been produced, we talk about it, we discuss some different strategies, apply some different principles, and then we think about it some more. And in our minds, we're solving those problems. We're coming up with new possibilities. And we have to then go through the channel again of producing. The mind can play tricks on us sometimes, and I like to describe it to my students like an MC Escher kind of problem, where, you know, he has those twisting, winding staircases, and we get those ideas in our minds that are very imaginative and fantastical, and this happens especially when we're creating three-dimensional things, that they're not exactly what we thought they were when we try to produce them in reality. So we have to go through those channels then of producing the thing that we're thinking. And then we get a product. We get either a physical product or a digital product. And then we go through the cycle again. We look at it, we assess it, we analyze it, we talk about new strategies. So this is a process that all of our arts classes go through at some level. At some level, we talk about creating things, and we see, like in Mrs. Rohr's art history classes, they're looking at work that the masters have done. They're analyzing that work. And then they're saying, well, let's try this. Let's think about how we might do some exercise that approximates this or imitates this or uses this medium. And then they produce something, and then they look at it together. And so, and in the film classes, in the graphic design classes, in my architecture classes, this is the process at some level that we use to produce the work that we do. We teach students to observe. This is part of the seeing. There is so much wonder and beauty in our world, especially in our created universe. We want students to open their eyes. We want them to look at the universe, to look at the grand scale of it and see the patterns, to look at the micro scale of it and see those same patterns exist. We want them to look at an object that is kind of an everyday thing, like, for example, a tree. This is an image of a tree in my backyard. And let's look at it up close, and let's see what lines and shapes and colors and textures this thing is made of. So we teach students to observe, look at the things around them, see those elements, see those principles. We teach them what those design aspects are in relationship to the things that they see around them. And then we have them work with those principles and those elements. And we say, now let's look for those things, and let's try to find them and capture them. So these are some exercises that I do with my students when I'm teaching them about negative space, which in this example here, which is a concept that is not often just thought about in your everyday, but it's very important to design, it's very important to composition, and it's all around us. And we just have to have the awareness of it. And so it's something that we talk about, and we have the students do some drawings to capture that and get a better understanding of it. We have them do some observational drawings that look very close up at every little wrinkle and line and crack and flake in their hands, and see that really up close. And what is there? Don't just think of a hand. What is in that? What are the lines and the shapes and the colors and the textures? So we teach them to observe. We teach students to analyze. In our classes, have you watched them? Yes. In our classes, we look at the work that would be just appropriate for our respective disciplines. So this would be a work in art. This would be a work in architecture. In film, I know they look at snapshots of films. In graphic design, they're looking at web pages and corporate identities. And let's analyze according to those elements and principles things that the masters have done. What are the really good examples for us to learn from? And so we take those apart and we walk students through that, and we say, this is texture, this is continuation, this is emphasis and focal point, this is unity, this is movement. And then we talk about positive and negative space. So we walk students through those examples, teaching them those concepts. And again, these are concepts specific to the arts. But once they take these and they implement them and they do this work on their own, we compel them then to create with these things that we've taught them. And this is when they are applying those critical thinking skills, those creative problem solving skills, and they're gaining for themselves a repertoire of ways to accomplish a goal that will extend far beyond designing a house or designing a two-dimensional composition. We're teaching them to look at the goal and what is the pathway to achieve that goal, and how might they implement the things that the tools that we give them. We give them parameters, we give them guidelines. How might they use those tools to accomplish that goal and create something wonderful? So I talk to my students then after we study architecture and we learn about design with regard to architecture, how they can take just those skills that I've taught them and apply them in such a broad range of fields, from fashion design to industrial design, graphic design, and the list goes on. That there are so many fields that with just the foundational principles that they're learning in design that they can explore. And so this is even still very specific, and the list becomes broader as we reach out into all of the other disciplines in the arts. So I hope now that if you didn't already have a good idea of why design education is important, that these things are more clear, that it teaches students to think beyond the obvious, to be able to unwrap a problem and apply some specific tools and principles to achieving a goal. How to think about it critically, how to ask questions. Why do we do it this way? How can I come up with the best solution? It helps our students learn to bring greater beauty and utility into our world. And they can take those skills of analyzing and of articulating a solution, and they can apply those to anything, in any field, any subject area, any challenge that they might face in life. It helps in the decision-making process. Design is all about making decisions. And this is always good training, right? And one thing that I am really excited about in our classes is the collaboration. Our students get to see each other's work. They get to be inspired by each other. They get to learn from each other. And as Julie mentioned, we are rolling out a brand new class in Excelsior this fall that is a collaboration between 4 of our arts disciplines. And that will take a segment of art, a segment of graphic design, of architecture, and of filmmaking, and allow your student to experience all 4 of those disciplines in one semester. So we are super excited about the crossover that that is going to provide, and just that the opportunities that are there for your student to experience all of those. And then just, again, teaching students to communicate about their ideas. We go through those channels in that design process, and they get to the end and they say, this is what I've come up with, and they need to articulate that. They need to visually communicate, and they need to verbally communicate. And this is such an important skill. In fact, I make my students verbally present their projects to the class. And it's, you know, it's not giving a speech. It's not that formal, but there are times that you will need to talk about an idea that you have. You'll need to talk about a reason why someone should do something the way you think they should. You need to be able to be persuasive. You need to be able to support your idea. You need to be able to just discuss why you have done something the way you've done it. So classes in the arts help your student learn how to communicate their ideas. These are just some of the offerings that we have at Excelsior in the arts: drawing, architecture, colored and watercolor pencil, graphic design, filmmaking, screenwriting, visual design, art history. There's a class in Photoshop, learning how to use that program to create visually. And then our arts sampler, which is the class that I was just describing. So all of these options are available for your students. And if you have any questions about any one of these classes and how they might be suitable for your particular student, please just email the respective instructor, and we are more than happy to talk to you about what your students' interests are and how we might better serve you. So please do reach out to us and discuss with us. We can put you in touch with the right person if we are not it, and are happy to do that. So that concludes the design conversation. And I have one more thing that I wanted to do with you this evening, because I'm thinking about all of you out there with kids at home, and it's something that we in online classes are very used to, but that might not be you. You might be watching this recording and not having ever taken an online class with your kids. So they might have some extra time on their hands right now. They might have an activity that has been canceled, and you want to engage them at home with some things that stimulate their creativity and that just help them have fun. So I put together this list, and I ran out of space because this just is so near and dear to my heart. Like I said, I have homeschooled for, let's see, my oldest two, they're twins, are 18 now. So that would make it 13 years, and have taught art classes, art and design classes at co-ops. And so my recent years have been full of these things, and I think so fondly on the times that I've spent with my kids doing these things. So let's just quickly give you some ideas for arts activities to do with your kids. First of all, I just want to mention that open-ended exploration is the best way to get your kids involved with art and with creative projects. If you can just give them paper and paint, and you probably know this already, but you can just give them craft supplies. You can give them construction paper and scissors and glue, and just let them have the freedom to make a mess. You know, put a little smock on them, put a, you know, piece of plastic on the floor, and just let them go. I just want to give you permission to do that, to just set things out for them. Don't feel like you have to give them a project. Don't feel like they have to make something that looks like something. I always felt kind of responsible in my art classes for sending the kids home with a project that looked like something. But in my heart, I really just wanted them to have as much fun as they could with that straw and that paint on that paper. And I sort of felt like, are the parents going to understand when their kid comes home with this thing that doesn't look like anything? Yes, just let your kids explore and have fun with those art materials. Okay. So now some more specific things. Painting with something like a string, like a heavy twine or yarn, like a 12-foot length. 12 foot, that's too long. 12-inch, 1 foot length of string, or a sponge, or a cotton ball, or something that they can dip into some paint and then make a stamp or a print or a design on the paper with. And here's a helpful hint for your paint. Put it on a paper plate. If you're using the cotton balls or the sponges or the stamps, put it on a paper plate. If you're using the string, put it in a little Dixie cup. And that way the kids have that contained. And then the bigger the paper, the better. If you can get one of those 18 by 24 drawing pads, fabulous. If you can get a roll of paper. When my kids were just little toddlers, I would spread out a roll of paper on the floor, and I would set a box of crayons in the middle of it, and I would just let them sit down and draw and color, and they would just all the things that they would create on that long roll of paper. Just give them the space to do it. Okay, yes, let's go down this quickly. Crayon and oil pastel, just let them draw and then color or paint over it with watercolor paint. Tissue paper collage, get some colored tissue paper, tear it into pieces, mix and paste in a little Dixie cup with half and half water and glue. Let them paint that on with a paintbrush. Make a drawing challenge. My youngest son is really into this with one of his friends right now. They FaceTime with each other, and someone gives them one of the parents gives them a drawing challenge, and then they both make their creation and then have the parents judge it. Have your kids respond to a piece of music. Put on something that they've never heard before, a piece of jazz, a piece of classical, and say, what colors does this make you think of? What types of lines and shapes does this make you think of? And just create something that's that this music makes you feel like. Get out a children's book and say, let's make a drawing that's in the style of this illustrator. The Caldecott Medal winners are some of the best. And copy a masterwork. I did this with my kids. We studied all of the artists and their famous paintings, and just have your kids reproduce it. Cardboard boxes. You have to already know about this, right? That kids love cardboard boxes. Let them draw with markers on it. Let them cut them up. Let them make things out of the cardboard boxes. Yes. And we hopefully are going for lots of walks right now. Take a sketchbook on your walk. Have your kids find something that they want to draw. Have them get really close up to it and find the littlest, teeniest, tiniest part and draw it. If they're into their camera or phone, have them make a photo journal. Have them write and direct and film a video. And okay, this one, there's an author who makes a book with these creations. Make characters out of fruits and vegetables and put them together with toothpicks, and then eat them for lunch. Okay, those are just some of the very fun ideas. I have more. You can email me. Maybe I'll write a blog or do another webinar on it. But that's those are some fun things for you to do with your kids at home right now. All right. If we have any questions, I would be happy to answer. And other than that, just reach out to me if you would like to, if you're watching this on a recording. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn this back over to Julie now.
Thanks, Melissa. That was so great. And even this last list, I think that I have an idea for you, but we'll have to talk about it afterwards. But I am glad that you were able to share all this. There's so much, and it of course excites me because I teach the art classes too, and so I just love the fact that so often. Well, I should band set for us, but so often in having time for creative arts, music, and things like that, or teaching a class. What I love is that kids are learning all the things that you talked about, all those thinking skills, and they don't even realize it because they're just having fun. So that's kind of the joy of the whole visual and creative arts world, I think. So.
We get to teach the best classes.
We do. We do. Everybody says, "Oh, it's art class," and they don't know that secretly we're just helping them.
Preparing them to be CEOs.
Yes. So anyways. Well, this was great tonight. And again, if anybody who's here or anybody watching by recording has any questions specific for Melissa, you can reach her at Excelsior Classes. If you're interested in any classes, they're listed on our website, and registration's open for the fall. And one last thing, probably if you're watching by recording, it might be irrelevant, but for you watching today and over the weekend, we're actually going to be doing a live Facebook event on Monday. So I hope that if that's something of interest to you, that you'll catch us there, and that'll have more sort of things in the visual arts. So Melissa didn't even know that was happening, but I might just rope her into something over the next few weeks since we're all stuck at home, right?
That's right. So, I would be happy to.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, and we look forward to another one of our content expert webinar presentations 1 month from now, and you'll see more about that coming up, I'm sure. So thank you, and I wish everybody a very good evening and
thank you.
Evening.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Good night.